Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you for joining our virtual observance of Veterans Day in 2020. Veterans Day is the day of the year when we all make a special point to recognize and thank former and current members of the U.S. Armed Forces. In my remarks in past years, I focused attention not just on frontline combat veterans, but also on those working behind the front lines, and those who have never seen combat, because they too make sacrifices and deserve our appreciation and recognition. Based on what's happened so far in 2020, I'm going to talk today about ways that veterans have been on the front lines, but not in a traditional combat role, not defending United States interests against foreign adversaries. The first is when the military responds to natural disasters under the Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief Program. The second, possibly more controversial, is the role the U.S. National Guard played in the protests that started in late May. As I have in past years, I will not talk about why the military was there or whether it should have been, but only about the challenges faced by individual veterans in these circumstances. The response to humanitarian and natural disasters is one that I think almost everyone believes is a good idea and an appropriate use of expertise and resources, but that does not make it easy. Under traditional combat operations, the military must operate in areas that have been devastated by their own actions, but the destructive power of conventional military weapons pales in comparisons to severe weather, earthquakes, drought, and famine. An average hurricane releases the equivalent of 10,000 nuclear bombs during its life cycle. An earthquake can flatten a city in seconds, and famines can kill millions. Nevertheless, experience in repairing damaged infrastructure to enable food, water, medical personnel and supplies, and temporary housing are all within the logistical expertise of the military, and so they are asked to do these things in the wake of disasters. That doesn't make it any easier for those called to duty. As with soldiers called to combat, members of the military helping with humanitarian and natural disasters can be called to duty with almost zero notice, must separate from their families, and must provide relief in terrible conditions. As with everything that our veterans do, they have no option to say no, no option to quit and start a new job. That unceasing duty is central to being a member of the military and to being a veteran. The deployment of the National Guard in response to protests following the murder of George Floyd was controversial in many ways, but setting aside discussion about whether it was appropriate, it was certainly devastating and stressful for the veterans ordered to those locations. The oath of office for the National Guard requires swearing or affirming to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, but also to obey the orders of the President and the individual governor for each serviceman. For traditional overseas deployments, the rules of engagement, which specify how a service member should respond to various circumstances, are not simple or easy, but they are straightforward compared to the interpretation of the U.S. Constitution. These members of the National Guard did not have a say about where they were deployed, were in often chaotic situations where they did not know what was happening except in their nearby vicinity, and were ordered to perform specific actions by their superiors, putting them in very difficult circumstances. Any action they took, or inaction, could violate one or another term of their oath of office and the law. There are numerous reports in the press about members of the Guard who were, and are, agonizing over their role in the protests. Regardless of what happened those days, the members of the National Guard who in good faith performed their duties while carefully considering their responsibilities under their oath of office have my respect and admiration. Those veterans deserve recognition on this Veterans Day. There are many others speaking today about the veterans who directly confront America's enemies on the battlefield and show bravery and determination there. I, too, honor them today, but I want to recognize other, seemingly less remarkable, but just as remarkable veterans for what is central to their mission, that they have chosen to sacrifice their freedoms to protect those of all Americans. Thank you for joining me in our observance of Veterans Day this year. I hope that we can observe it together in person in 2021.